Okay, now we have part 2 of our Unit 1 test review. And this is the part of the test that we're going to do without a calculator. So no calculator is permitted on this portion of this test. It says the land of Maryland is about 95,500 square kilometers. Write this in scientific notation. And remember, I want to move my decimal between the first two numbers. So it's going to be 9.55, I don't need to include the zeros, times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, times 10 to the 4th. Okay, I had to move that decimal 4 times. Express 4.62 times 10 to the 4th in standard form. So that's going to be, let's see, 4.62, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be 4, 6, 2, 0, 0. And look at what I did. Some of you have made this mistake where you keep that decimal between the 4 and 6. That decimal moved to here. That's where the decimal moved to. Express 0.0314 in scientific notation. So that decimal is going to move 1, 2. So it's going to be 3.14 times 10 to the negative 2nd power, which is ordered greatest to least. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my exponents, and I see I have a -4, a 3, and a 3. And we want to go ahead and order those greatest to least. Since -4 is much less than 3, that's going to be trash I can slash. And since this one starts, J starts with it, I'm going to slash that trash as well. So now I want to compare G and H. And I want to look at, since this has an exponent of 3 and this one has an exponent of 3, and that's occurring in both G and H, I want to look at the number that I have here because I can't compare the exponent anymore. And so I have 7.92 or 7.35. Which of those is greater? It would be 7.92. So G is going to be the correct answer. For mastery, the table shows the size in meters of 4 different microscopic items. Rank those in order by size from smallest to greatest. Once again, what I want you to do is do this problem on your own, and we'll talk about this one in class. Next page. So it says, which group contains equivalent fractions, decimals, and percent? So I have 1/4, and I know that's 0.25, and we should pretty much have an idea that 1/4 is 0.25 at this point. And then I have 25%, which I know that is the same as well. I have 2/3, 0.63. Well, I know 2/3 is 0.666 repeating. So that doesn't work. Just want to make sure there's not more than one answer because remember, SOLs, you might have more than one answer. H has 3/10, which that should be 0.3 instead of 10, so that's trash. 2/4, if I reduce that, that's going to be 1/2, which is 0.5. So that's trash that I can slash as well. Which set is ordered? Greatest to least. So I go ahead and I look at my values. And remember, we want to put these into decimal form. And it says greatest to least. Well, I know 7/10 is 0.7. And that's bigger than 0.073. So that's trash. And I have 0.7, 0.72. And so that's trash I can slash. Let's see. I know 3/4 is 0.75, and that's 0.72. And since that's bigger than that, that's trash. So I have 3/4, which is 0.75, 72%, 0.72, 7/10, which is 0.7, and then 0.073, which is already in decimal form. So J is going to be our correct answer. And I'm sorry, I should have put F up here. Place the following numbers in order from greatest to least. So again, I want to go ahead and let's see. 13% is 0.13. 1.3 is already in decimal form. 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. And 1.3 times 10 to the fourth, that's going to be, let's see, 1.3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be 13000, 13,000. Well, I already know that's greatest. So 1.3 times 10 to the fourth is greatest. I'm going to cross him out because I'm done with him. And then I have 0.13, 0.3 repeating, or 1.3. So 1.3. That's done. Okay. Then I have 0.13 or 0.3 repeating, so 1/3 would be next because that 3 is bigger than that 1. And then finally 13%. Okay, once again, go ahead and do the mastery on your own. Let me read it for you. Your friend Maggie has Mrs. Askew as a math teacher. She has posted her test grades in the following manner: 83%, 20 over 25, 8.2 times 10 to the negative first, and 0.84. For extra credit, she can order the scores from least to greatest, but he doesn't know how to. I didn't know Maggie was a he. Explain to Maggie how to successfully convert the scores and put them in order from least to greatest. Okay, so work on that one. We'll talk about that in class. Okay, what is the value of the square root of 324? Remember, you need to have all of the perfect squares memorized up to 400, and the square root of 324 is going to be 18. Identify each value that represents a perfect square. 1 is a perfect square. 196 is a perfect square. 289 is a perfect square. So we have A, C, and D. All right, for proficient, remember that's our goal, to be proficient. Square root of 400 is 3, it's 20. Square root of 0, 0. Square root of 361, I guess I should have put a 4 there, huh? Square root of 361 is 1, which is 19. And the square root of 196 is 14, which isn't there. This should be a 14, so it would be 2. Okay. And finally, for this section, we have the mastery question here at the top of the page. And it says, Thomas Jefferson himself designed the house at Monticello, his estate just outside of Charlottesville. The north square room and the south square room of the house each have an area of approximately 400 square feet. How long is the side of a square that has an area of 400 square feet? Go ahead and do this one on your own. We'll talk about it in class. Finally, our last objective for our test that we'll be taking. This is where we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers. So first thing it says is evaluate each equation below. Well, I see some multiplication, some division, and addition and subtraction. So my first one has a multiplication problem. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw Digby. And that's a positive times a negative. So my answer is going to be negative, and it says times -2. And so I'm going to say negative 42. 18 plus -8, remember, we don't use Digby for this. If I have two different signs, what I do is I subtract, and I'm going to have positive 10 because there's more of positive 18 than there is of that -8. Negative 20 divided by -5. That's going to give us, again, I'm going to go to Digby. Only with multiplication and division do I use Digby. So I have negative divided by a negative, so my answer is going to be a positive 4. Negative 10 minus 2. So I'm going to say plus negative 2. And so that's a negative plus a negative. It's just going to be more negative, so it's negative 12. 15 minus negative 3 plus positive 3. So that's going to give us an answer of 18. Okay, developing. The highest recorded temperature in Virginia is 115 degrees Fahrenheit at Crabtree Falls on July 15, 1950. The lowest recorded temperature is negative 20 degrees at Mountain Lake Station on January 10, 1980. What is the difference between the highest and lowest recorded temperatures? First thing we need to know is what difference means. Difference means to subtract. So I'm going to say 115 minus negative 20. Okay, if I do that, I'll change that to a plus positive 20. And so I'm going to get an answer of 135, which is going to be our answer B. Simplify. Well, I don't have enough room here to simplify, so I'm going to have to use the bottom of the page here. Negative 8 squared plus 24 divided by 3 minus 4 times 4. There's a lot going on in this problem. Some of you have kind of resisted the whole alleys. This is where I would highly suggest drawing some alleys so you don't mess up. I'm going to draw my alley here from my plus sign, here from my negative sign. That's going to let me go ahead and do all the math in this alley here, all the math in this alley here, all the math in this alley here, and then finally add or subtract going left to right. So I have negative 8 squared. That's where Digby comes in. Here's my negative, negative, positive, and that's a negative 8 times a negative 8. So that's going to give me a positive 64. 24 divided by 3. Remember, no calculators permitted, but you can create a multiplication table, and that's what I would highly suggest doing, and have one ready when you come in for test. So 24 divided by 3, I would go ahead and say that's going to be 8. And then 4 times 4, that's 16. So now I can go ahead and I can say 64 plus 8 minus 16, which I'm going to go ahead and change that to a plus negative 16. So 64 plus 8, that's going to give me 72 plus negative 16. So I'm going to have to do 72. Remember, no calculator. And if I'm adding a positive and a negative, I'm actually subtracting. I'm going to have to borrow 1 from the 7, change that to a 6, make that 12. 6 from 12 is 6, and 1 from 6 is 5. So I get 56, and I have a positive 72, negative 16. So my answer is going to be a positive 56. Go ahead and do the mastery problem on your own, and we will go over that one in class as well. Thank you.